dark, kindle the spark in me.
So let me toss out a brain teaser for you. What's the right color for a wheel to be, huh? What color should it be? I've been thinking about this scene from one of my favorite moments in Douglas Adams' novel. He wrote the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series of books, and there's a scene in one of the books where characters get to go back to an ancient version of Earth and to see the invention of the wheel happening. I won't give away any surprises about who are the ones doing the inventing of the wheel, but you've got these folks who are inventing the wheel, and they are in the midst of painting this square-shaped object orange, and this other character comes up and says, I think you're doing it wrong. That's not the right way to invent a wheel. And the other guy, painting this square contraption orange, goes, okay, then what color would you think it should be? He seems to be primarily concerned about what color this square-shaped object is, rather than saying, you know what, the thing that needs to make a wheel is it's got to be round. It's got to be able to roll. That's the defining thing about what makes a good wheel, is that it's round enough to roll, not whether it's orange or blue or purple. And it occurs to me, maybe at the heart of what Jesus has to say about what life is like in the reign of God, in the Yahweh administration, is that Jesus has to tell us a whole different set of categories about what makes for the good life, what makes for the life lived in God's vision, than what we usually accept as the defining criteria. In other words, we've been all painting squares in different colors, arguing over which color is the right color square for our wheel. And Jesus steps in and goes, no, it turns out, guys, round was the thing that you needed. It's got to be a circle. That's how to make a wheel. In the first half of what we call the Beatitudes, these statements, blessed are the poor in spirit, blessed are those who mourn, blessed are those who have been denied justice, those who are hungry and thirsty for justice, for righteousness. These things aren't necessarily character traits you should aspire to. These are conditions. Like, man, if you're the one who's poor in spirit, guess what? God is looking out for you. If you're the one who is mourning and grieving, guess what? God is concerned about you and your needs. But a turn happens in the second half of Matthew's list of the Beatitudes. Well, before we're all said and done, maybe we'll sort of make a little chart so you can see how they all line up nicely. But there's a turn in the second half where Jesus does start to name some of the kinds of qualities that are in tune with the character of God and of the Yahweh administration, the kingdom of God, the reign of God. And again, this is a surprising move, because the kinds of things Jesus says really matter to God aren't the kind of things we often assume make for the good life. Because nowhere in Jesus' list is going to be things like having a large income, or having lots of political power, or having 2.5 kids and a white picket fence and living in a suburban gated community somewhere. Jesus takes a list of traits, of practices, of virtues, and says these are what matter, when most people in the ancient world would have been scratching their head saying, why is any of this important? Jesus steps onto the scene as the one who says our wheel should be round, while we're arguing they should be green instead of orange or purple with yellow polka dots. And so when Jesus makes the turn toward mercy and says, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy, it really is something radical. I mean, the idea of mercy being a positive trait, even that isn't universal in the ancient world, much less in the modern world today. Too, so many voices say being merciful, that's being weak. That's giving other people things what they don't deserve, and that's just not how the world works. I mean, conventional wisdom in so many places says it's only worth doing something if it's a transaction, if I will get something in return, right? That the only way to judge if somebody is smart or good or wise or prudent, good at business or excellent at their deals, is if they can get something, get more for themselves than they give up. That's so often how the world defines greatness, and Jesus dumps cold water on that. Jesus says, no, that's like insisting you've got a great wheel because it's orange, but it's a total square and it won't roll anywhere. Jesus says the underlying currency of God's economy, that the fabric of the universe God has made, is mercy, is breaking apart the logic of transaction. I will only do something if I get something in return. And instead, Jesus offers grace, just unearned, undeserved, no bean counting goodness as the way that we live our lives. Because Jesus is convinced that's how God runs the whole universe, that everything in the world is run on God's economy of mercy. Later on in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus will start giving examples about how God sends good things on well-behaved people and on stinkers, and then says that's the pattern for how we live too. But he's laying the groundwork for it. He's planting the seeds for it here, just when he says, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. It's a way of saying, our wheels will roll better if they are round. And at that point, we can stop arguing about what color the wheels are. That turns out not to have mattered much at all. So the amount of money or power or influence or followers you have on social media, way, way, way less important. And the way we are willing to let our lives be oriented around unmerited goodness for people, mercy, kindness for those who suffer. The more we build our lives around practicing empathy, we will be in tune with what God has made us for in the first place. That's how to get a good wheel rolling. It doesn't matter what color you paint it or what stripes you give it. This day, let's let our wheels get turning. And what if we let our lives be lived along the lines of mercy? Join us for more next time on Flicker. Bye.